The story of the glowing cross of Lismore. On an eerie night in 1918, a mysterious glimmer of light, bathed in brilliancy, cascaded across a graveyard highlighting headstones from the past. Each headstone peeking through just enough to make them ominous, as though the dead could see again. Shadows wavered in the background, curious to the alluring sight, probing the what-ifs of non-darkness. The watchers of the cemetery soon became threatened as people began to emerge from the town of Lismore, questioning the validity of its source. It was named Ghost on the Hill because of the unknown intensity and the how or why it was there. It became a place to take dares or a place to hide and scare. The burial site's activity left an impression on the city that it would never forget. The story began one fateful night in 1907 when a railway guardsman succumbed to his death after risking his life to save a runaway train carriage. William Steenson was 29 years old and had his whole life ahead of him. He was working at Mullumbimby Station in Lismore, New South Wales, Australia, when a fellow railway worker detached a loaded van from the train. The moving compartment veered off its course and quickly came down, smashing into William and pinning him against a platform. His co-workers ran over to find him laying 6 feet away from the accident, barely breathing. He was alive long enough to tell them that he tried to stop it with his bare hands. He was quoted as saying,
"Mate, I think I'm done for."
The witnesses said they used signals, green for go and red for stop, when unloading train carriages. It's a possibility that Mr. Steenson missed those signals, somehow ending up in a horribly tragic end. The family was absolutely devastated to learn of his death. They carefully thought out his memorial and decided to have a large stone cross made with Balmoral granite to erect over his gravesite in honor of his beautiful soul. In a grand gesture, an elegant poem was inscribed on his tomb that read, "Though sorrow and darkness encompass the tomb, thy Savior has passed through its darkness before thee, and thy lamp of his love is thy guide through the gloom." On a quiet, dark night 11 years later in 1918, the last line of the poem would ironically come true. The cross began to illuminate for all to see. The ghost on the hill was now a luminescent cross that burned ever so brightly in the corners of William Steenson's permanent home. It would gleam for 60 years before it would get a whisper of recognition. A woman giving an interview to the Northern Star newspaper in 1978 would ignite the media sensation, causing curious and strange people to come and investigate it. There were many speculations on the source of its supernatural radiance, including reflection, possible quartz amplifying the energy, or something as simple as glowworms. Local legends began to fill the town with spooky stories of dread. One man said he would have a look, but would never go past the gate because he felt fear, as though the ghost on the hill was after him. He also told of children being offered a penny as a dare to run up to the grave and read the headstone out loud to frighten them. A Masonic compass was carved into the granite, lending a conspiracy that a secret society had something to do with the intoxicating phenomenon. Once the media attention died down, it would go another 9 years before the interest would strike up again. But this time, the attraction would be its demise. Questionable characters would steal chunks of the cross or remove small pieces for a souvenir. Some even thought it had healing properties and would sneak in at night hoping for a miracle. All of this commotion and then one night in 1986, it just disappeared. The Steenson ancestors were at a loss. Luckily, an anonymous donor gave them $2,000 to restore the stone cross with the same material and dimensions. It was never the same, though, because it did not reproduce the mystifying appearance that the previous cross had. In the hours of darkness, for years and years, a single light caused soul-stirring reactions, and now the spell was broken. The burial ground could transform back into the city of the dead, allowing the spirits to roam free without the hindrance of an unwelcome glare. The people, however, wondered how it could just fade into obscurity. Maybe one day the glowing cross of Lismore will return to bewitch us again. Hey, thanks for watching. Be weird and hit that like button. Never be bored. Hit subscribe.